Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. The first trailer for Space Jam: A New Legacy was just released today, and I'm really curious to see what it's all about. Like just about every other kid who grew up in the 90s, I loved the original Space Jam. And I gotta admit, I still have a big soft spot for it. I mean, I saw it in the theaters, probably another 50 times on VHS alone, and I can't even tell you how many hundreds of hours I sunk into that PS1 game. But I fully recognize how absurd of a movie it was. And it's not one that I ever thought we'd get a sequel for. So while I'm excited for this, I also have reasonable expectations. At least before the trailer. So let's check it out.
Basketball camp is next weekend. You got amazing potential on the court, and I can help you get there.
That's not what I want, Dad. You never let me do what I want to do. You never let me just do me.
Okay, so we got some father-son issues here, starting it off.
Bet Will Smith ain't got to deal with this.
Dad!
Down! What in the Matrix hell?
That's a little bit different than a gopher hole.
Welcome, King James. I am the king of this domain. This is the serververse.
What'd you do to my son? Where's Dom?
The only way you're getting your son back is if you and I play a little basketball. Pete, send this clown to the rejects.
Wait.
So this is some classic Space Jam here.
I'm a cartoon?
What's up, Doc?
So we're gonna get two styles of animation. That's kind of cool.
I know what you're looking for. A dream team. Come on, shoot the ball. Let's try that again, shall we?
King James. Welcome to
The Iron Giant.
the Space Jam.
And lots of other WB properties.
Introducing the Goon Squad.
The Goon Squad. It's about as ridiculous as the Monstars.
Let's end this.
And get our son back.
Do the arm stretch? Nope.
Classic.
Welcome to the Space Jam.
I'm going old school on his butt.
Welcome to the Space Jam.
Okay, so I think that looks pretty interesting actually, because it has elements of the original Space Jam, but definitely is taking the story in a slightly different direction. It's not just a straight up remake or even just necessarily a modern day rehashing of the same story. Having this whole serververse thing is kind of interesting. At first I was kind of like, oh, of course, but I mean, really, it's no more ridiculous than a gopher hole in down to the middle of the earth. And so I think there's actually some interesting things that can be done with this serververse concept. Obviously, kind of, we've got this father-son story relationship thing going on. He has to save his son. I'm sure the son's going to be the one that comes in and plays in the final game and saves the day, probably makes the winning shot or whatever. We've got, it seems that they are kind of setting up Don Cheadle's character, or entity, or whatever he is, as the villain here. So why he's forcing this game, who knows? It's kind of maybe similar to like the manager of the Monstars. But we'll kind of see how that goes. But I don't know, I think it looks fun. Like, the animation looks great, both kind of iterations, right? Both styles of it, that classic 2D Looney Tunes style, but then also the modern CG animation. I mean, I still think the animation aspect of the original Space Jam holds up pretty well, but this is kind of bringing it into our current style and current animation. So I think that looks really cool. And obviously we've got lots and lots of characters, at least featured in this trailer beyond just the Looney Tunes. Basically all of these Warner properties and characters. I'm sure probably everybody's made this comparison at this point, but it really gave me Ready Player One vibes, with just all these different characters kind of being thrown together in one spot. Obviously, it's kind of the benefit of this idea of the serververse. I don't know if that's gonna really have much of a hand in the actual story, though. I mean, it's fun and it's cool, and like, I'm sure other people have already made videos with, like, you know, frame by frame going through this trailer, so I'm sure somebody else can tell you every single little Easter egg cameo that was in there. But just on this very first time watching it, you know, I saw, obviously, the Iron Giant, right? We had some Flintstones there. I think I saw the Mystery Machine drive by. Obviously King Kong, he was kind of a big thing there. And when he was writing on the board, he wrote like Superman and Gandalf. And so my guess is that's mostly just like a cool moment from the movie, like a montage leading up to the big game where all these, you know, other characters from the different servers of the serververse are coming to watch the big game. And so I think it's probably going to be more along those lines, and it just makes a cool moment in the trailer. But who knows? Maybe there is going to be some actual story involvement with some of these other Warner characters. I mean, it would be kind of cool if, like, LeBron was going to the different servers to try to recruit people to play, or do something, some sort of questy thing where he had to go to different servers. I don't anticipate that, but maybe. And honestly, this idea of having these different servers makes me wonder if there's a Space Jam server, right? Because Space Jam 96 is a Warner property, so it would seem to imply that there should be a Space Jam server. So maybe we're going to get some cool multi-serververse stuff going on. At least maybe, hopefully, like a Michael Jordan cameo or like a Bill Murray cameo or something, whether from that server or just in general. So definitely some really cool stuff that they could do with that. I don't know if they will, but some potential there. And I'm trying to think. Oh, the team that they're playing, right? The Goon Squad. So we've got the Toon Squad versus the Goon Squad. And it's okay. It's kind of funny. Like, I mean, we're talking bad pun versus bad pun, right? Goon Squad versus the Monstars, when comparing these two movies. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. They seem to be more formidable as an opponent this time around. Obviously, the Monstars, they were like horrible until they stole the skill from the other players. And these guys seem, at least from this trailer, to be like inherently skillful at basketball. So I don't think we're probably going to see the other basketball cameo kind of thing like we did in the first movie, but maybe. But it seems like they're going to be, like I said, a more formidable opponent this time around. And who knows, with a name like Goon Squad, you know, this could tie into this idea of having a Space Jam server. Maybe they're like the evil robot clones of the Toon Squad from the Space Jam server or something, right? It's like a Bill and Ted 2 thing with evil robots. I don't know. But there's just so much potential there with what they could do. And it seems fun. Like, it's one of those things where it's obviously ridiculous, but so was the first movie, right? And I think my nostalgia for that first movie kind of both helps and hinders my sort of excitement for this one, because obviously, because I like that first Space Jam film, I'm obviously more like kind of likely to be like, yeah, this looks cool, even though it's ridiculous, right? Otherwise, like, people who've never seen Space Jam would probably watch this and be like, what the hell is this thing, right? But on the other hand, right, I do have that nostalgia, right? And I'm like, oh, the Monstars and Moron Mountain, and like, I'm gonna be like, the goon squad, right? But so there's gonna be always this kind of mental comparison whether I want to do it or not. So I think it's gonna kind of balance out for me, and it sort of is excitement wise, right? I'm not like dying to see this movie, but I'm still excited. Like, I still want to see it, and I think it looks pretty cool, and looks like it has some very interesting potential ways that the story could go. So those are just my thoughts on this trailer, but what about you guys? Are you somebody who's dying for another Space Jam movie, or are you kind of confused at the prospect of a sequel here? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment or insight out of this reaction, I'd appreciate if you'd hit that like button, and if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainly Movies, the way life should be.